Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards and
January Liddell. Aloha.
What's up, January?
What's up, guys? I'm so excited about this topic. Super excited for this day.
Yes, and before we get started, we just want to let everybody know that you can subscribe, you can share, and you can give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy this podcast or any of our podcasts that you listen to. So we appreciate you listening today. Our subject for today is
tips for working on a strong relationship. Hold on, let me do that again. Tips for working on a strong relationship. And we've got 10 of them.
Ooh, this is exciting. All right, go for the first 5.
All right, our first 5. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take out your pen, take out a paper, and let's write this down. Number 1, it's a we, not an I. Number 2, choose grace and forgiveness. Number 3, date each other often. Number 4, the power of touch. Number 5, laugh and have fun.
Number 6, self-improvement tools. Number 7, self-love and smiling. 8, supporting, not fixing. 9, understanding your partner's love language. 10, choosing your person every day.
Man, these are awesome tips. I love that we're talking about this, Helen. So I'm gonna share a little bit about my love story since we're talking about working on a strong relationship. So I've had several, experiences, right? And have different boyfriends and whatnot. But my longest, obviously, has been with my husband. We are actually going on 20 years. So next year is 20 years of being together as Jan and Sam. And I'm going to tell you, this is probably one of the most challenging relationship ever. Because, when you're boyfriend, girlfriend, you can just break up. I guess husband and wife, you can, divorce as well, right? So there's that. But I think for me, and where I come from, I wanted to commit, to this relationship. And boy, has it been like a complete roller coaster. All right. So I'm going to share just a little bit. So our love story comes from a place where we both weren't looking for a relationship at the time. We were both like, he was single, I was single. I went out with like 7 boys. Okay, so these guys are from California and they're like, hey, we want to check out the nightlife. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm with my brother as well. So we went out to this place, Club Rain. And we went to Club Rain and I saw Sam, and Sam and I were like, we just made that eye contact. We made that eye contact. And then he didn't want to approach me. He didn't want to approach me because he thought that one of those guys were my boyfriend. And I was just, eyeing him. I said, oh my gosh, he looks like Morris Chestnut is what I said. And then he brought in a friend. So he had a friend come over and ask me like some questions just to see if like any of the guys would kind of jump him, and they didn't. And so he's like, okay, I'm good to go. So he made his approach. And then after that, he asked me to dance. I'm like, all right. Well, while we're dancing, he's like, can we like sit down and talk? I'm like, ooh, I think this guy watched Who Can Play That Game because he wanted to talk. So I'm like, oh, okay. So then anyway, long story short, he asked me on a date. And that was a Friday. He asked me on a date. I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody has asked me on a date. I'm like, okay, cool. So got my phone number. He didn't follow the 2-day rule. He ended up calling me the next day. I'm like, oh, so anyway, we ended up seeing each other every day after that. So it seems like love and roses, everything is going well. But as as life goes on, it's different personalities. So different personalities. I'm, like I'm a Christian. I'm, like I'm kind of a square. Okay. At least I was. I'm kind of evolving now, but I was a square. Um, and my husband is not a square, and anyway, we have gone through hell and hot water. Let's just put it that way. So we'll be married, I want to say 18 years this year. And it has been a crazy roller coaster. So number one, it's a we, not an I. So the reason why I said that is because we've gone to lots of marriage retreats, and a lot of marriage retreats talk about how sometimes people are married single. Okay, so married single, meaning that they still have the I mentality, right? And I know Sam and I had that. We struggled with that because he was so independent and doing his thing. I'm independent, I'm doing my thing. And it was a I, not a we. So we definitely had to change that vocabulary in terms of saying we.
That's a really cute story. I love it. You're exactly right about the we versus I. For me, in past relationships, I've gone through numerous long-term relationships. I was the I rather than the we. I was in the we in the beginning, but as soon as somebody like made me mad, or I felt faults in the other person more than taking responsibility for myself, I became the I. So I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I allowed myself to tell myself the story that this is not a trusting relationship. Therefore, I could be in it, but I can also like have my cake and eat it too. So good point.
Yeah, and I think for especially here in the United States, I feel like we are so bombarded with like, what about me? That whole feeling, what about me? And we in a relationship though, it won't work when you're just focused on just the I. Okay, so there's a difference between self-care and self-love, that's going to help and give value to the relationship, versus the I, where it's like, well, and it's okay to say I'm hurt. Okay, I'm hurt. What about me? You hurt me. You did this, you whatever, right? So now you're putting the blame and the onus on the other person, rather than taking responsibility for, maybe there was a part that you had to, in the we portion, right? So really, I think number one with the we is vital in realizing that you are in a partnership, and not just like you're not driving solo in this relationship. There's two, right? So that's number one.
All right, number two, go for it.
Number two, choose grace and forgiveness. Go ahead, Helen.
This is an interesting one because this is a thin line for me, because I know there's a lot of things that feel like are unforgivable in a relationship. However, in my past relationships, I had mentioned before, and I wrote it also in my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, that I was a notorious cheater. And forgiveness for me was like a meh, I don't really care to have it or give it. It meant nothing. And it is a big part of the relationships. And one of the things that I asked my fiance, Rob, actually this morning, I told him, I'm going to be doing this podcast. I said, I have a question. What is it that you think is something that holds us together, that keeps us strong? And his response was forgiveness and being able to let go. He said, because he's been in his past relationship was really toxic on the fact that the partner, his ex-partner, was always holding on to things, and they would hold on to it for days and weeks and months, and would even bring it up a year later. And when he's told me that, I thought to myself, I was that person in past relationships. I would hold on to things. I would say I forgive you, but really I didn't. It was lingering and festering and eating me alive. Therefore, I wasn't forgiving and letting go. And I thought it was really interesting that he said that, because we are both of us have gone through a lot of life and had made changes and decided that with one another, there's no need to hold on to anything longer than a day. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. It's so much energy. So I love that. Yes.
I love that he said that. I love that you asked that question. Now I should ask my husband that question. Yeah, grace and forgiveness is vital in a relationship because we all fall short. We're all imperfect beings, and we may say something or do something, in the heat of an argument. And oftentimes we don't mean it. It's just we're so angry and we're so frustrated that these things come out, whether it be words and actions, and whatever. And I know, Helen, you and I were talking about how like our partners tend to like leave their dirty clothes just like right next to the hamper. I'm like, the hamper is like right there, like just like a second away. So that's called grace. That's giving that person grace because they're not realizing that, hey, we should just put in the hamper. This was Sam a while ago. So, and then forgiveness. So forgiveness is key, and forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean that if you're okay with what that person has done. Okay, so forgiveness is not about that other person. Forgiveness is releasing it from your soul. Okay, so when I think of forgiveness, I think of, okay, look, this person is not perfect. This person is not going to do and say the things that I want him to say. But I'm going to forgive him, because if I don't, then it's like, there's a saying, it's like swallowing poison, like you're drinking the poison, but you're hoping the other one is drinking it, but you're drinking it. I don't know if that makes sense. There's a saying. Do you know that saying, Helen?
I haven't heard that one, but they also say, it's like holding a hot coal and you want to throw it at the other person, but that hot coal is stuck to your hand. Unless you forgive them, you're basically burning yourself.
Yes, same concept. So you're basically hurting yourself. So that's why number 2 is important, choose grace and forgiveness. Number 3, date each other often.
Oh, this one. Date each other often. Some people think like having a date is going out. And yes, that's true. That's good. If you can get out, go out. If you can go on trips, go out and go on trips. But dating is really also about the communion of two people and no distractions. It could be playing chess or checkers in your kitchen, outside of where the TV's at, phones off, and just being one-on-one with each other, having a conversation. That in itself can be a date also. And I love this because you should date and you should do it often.
Especially with kids. I'm going to say it's vital to date, especially when you have kids, because you can get so wrapped up with the kids and all their activities and just focus on the kids that, hey, guess what? You only have the kids for like 18, 20 years, however long, right? It's really not that long, but the rest of your life is with your partner. I remember we were in Kolina. Kolina is the place of joy here in Oahu, and it's the beach in Kolina. We were in Lagoon 1, and this woman, and Sam and I were just dating, and this woman had told us in the waters when we were swimming, and she reminded us, she said, always date each other. She said, you need to just focus on each other because, the kids are going to be gone. Eventually they're going to be gone. We had no kids. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, I took that really to heart. And I love how Helen was saying that dating doesn't necessarily mean going out to eat or going out to the movies. It is really just that one-on-one time. I just want to give a shout out to my brother, Bob, because Bob has Sunday Fun Day with the kids. So the kids go over to his house, and Sam and I actually have that one day to just date. And been doing that consecutively now for 2 years. So it's been nice to just have like a time, like a scheduled time, especially when you have kids. Okay, because when you have kids, there's school, there's practices, all these different things. So you have to schedule that date day. All right, number 4, the power of touch.
Ooh, this is a big one. I had mentioned that I was in previous relationships and long-term relationships, and obviously I like to think I was really good at commitment in those relationships. However, I wasn't good at commitment in those relationships. I was good at suppressing the needs that I really wanted. And by that, one of my past relationships I was in for almost 8 years, and he was very neglectful. No touching, no PDA, no public affection. And it felt like I was unloved, unwanted, undesired. And I allowed that and those thoughts to destroy my self-confidence that I had built for years prior to that instantly. And every single time I would ask, is it me? Is it me? And he would say, no, it's not you, it's me. But I came to realize now that I'm in a really healthy relationship, and how much touch is so important, and how much it feels so good, and what the intimacy and connection is with touch, and how valuable it is. It strengthens the relationship 20 times more than you ever think it would, especially if you're in a relationship where you're not getting the affection you desire.
It's amazing what just a simple, holding hands, or like a hug, or just like even putting like his hand on my back, and how that makes me feel. That makes me feel safe and secure. And as babies, right? As babies, the power of touch when you're a baby is important. It's that connection, it's that exchange of energy with each other. The toughest thing to do, though, with the power of touch is when you're angry at each other. So when you're angry at each other, the last thing you want to do is touch the other person, right? Because then you're like, oh, I'm mad at you. I don't want to touch you. I don't want to. But I'm going to say, because there's several steps before you get to the power of touch, right? So the whole number one, it's a we, not an I. Like if we think of that, like when we're angry, right? First, release your anger, release that anger, and then it's not a we, it's an I, and then choose grace and forgiveness for yourself, right? And for the other person, and grace for yourself too, right? And then the power of touch. So like, I feel like it's like these steps that you have to make in order to get to the power of touch. Once you have that power of touch, and you touch your partner, I know when Sam and I have gotten into, those heated moments, and we've gotten to really bad, anger moments. But once we hug each other, it just melts away. And I can't explain like that magic of touch, and how that just, it's like this breath of fresh air. So anyway, 4 was the power of touch. Number 5, laugh and have fun.
Oh my God, January. I have been in relationships in the past where we have a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, but just as much as there's a lot of fun and laughter, there's a lot of toxicity. So be very careful. You can say this is my best friend, but really weigh the pros and cons with that. Because my relationship, my fiance, one of the reasons I chose to want to marry him is because of how much the fun and laughter is effortless and the toxicity is 0. And I love that. That's so important to me, because I know that fun and laughter is based on healthiness. And we don't drink hardly ever. And he is the first partner I've ever been with who doesn't have to drink to have a good time, where we can go out to dinner. We can laugh our bellies off without a single drop of alcohol. We can watch a show. We can have conversations in bed. We're laughing our asses off. And there's nothing that is really a stimulant of that besides us being around each other, and we like to have fun and enjoy each other. So that's a big one. I definitely believe in that one.
So before I married Sam, one of my, I guess, list on my checklist of what I'd like in a relationship is to laugh and have fun. So I'm so happy, Helen, that you have a partner that is healthy and happy, and there is no toxicity. I'm gonna say though, in mine, it's a struggle for mine. Okay, so it's a struggle for mine because he has PTSD. So with the PTSD, We are navigating through that, but it's a struggle. And so I think even just a few weeks ago, it was tough, and it was hard to think of like laughing and having fun. But for us, because we are married, we're like, we are together, we're committed in this relationship. So for me, it is important to laugh and have fun, obviously not hide things, not like sweep things under the rug, because that's not going to solve anything, right? So laughing and having fun, what that brings to mind is when we were children and we were playing in the playground, we would get angry with our friend, or we get angry with, a boy that did something or whatever. And we would push each other. We would, like, I'm not saying to push anybody, but when you're kids, right, you're like, oh, I'm so mad. But then we become friends again, right? So with your girlfriend, with your, a little guy, I'm talking about when you're in the playground, all right? And then you go back to just laughing and having fun. And really, like, for me, the laughing and having fun is life. I feel like life is just too short. Life is too short. And I just enjoy laughing. I enjoy like just enjoying life, So I think when we get so like focused on our problems, then all we have are problems. Okay. So for me, I'd like to switch that around. Deal with it. I have a therapist. I'm dealing with it. He's got a therapist. He's dealing with it. So we're all dealing with our like issues and all that. But at the end of the day, it's important to laugh and have fun, because you never know, when you're going to go. Get it?
Totally.
Oh.
That actually brings us into number 6, which is self-improvement tools. And the tools are really what's going to help you navigate through a long-lasting, strengthful relationship. These are all tools basically that we're providing you with. And therapy is a big tool. And if you don't do therapy, audiobooks, books, podcasts, communication, workshops, retreats, all of these things are self-improvement tools that can help you become a better person in the relationship, and also what you're talking about, strengthen your relationship and help handle those storms that pass through, or problems that come above, or any slight toxicity that is kind of poisoning its way into the relationship.
Yeah, and we did talk about this last podcast ago. It's self-improvement, self-love, and how that's important, so you cannot love another person without loving yourself. It's really hard. Like, you can try, but honestly, you got to love yourself first.
I think 6 and 7 really go hand in hand, because now you're talking about self-love and smiling, which is number 7.
That's right. So yeah, so the self-improvement tools, definitely what Helen was talking about: therapy, podcasts, reading books. Those are all vital. I'm going to just share a good book to read is Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it yet, I'm in the midst of it and I love it. So yeah, so that's for number 6. Number 7, self-love and smiling, which is what we talked about, a few weeks ago. And it's important to do that. You really do need to fill your tank. I know when my tank is not full, and it's, running on E, I don't feel good. I don't feel good about myself. And I cannot love another person, because I'm so like, woe is me. That is me. I am woe is me when my tank is empty. So gotta find that way to love yourself.
When I think about this list, I think about my role in my past relationships and why they didn't work out. One of the things I learned after my divorce was responsibility is power. And a part of that was taking my responsibility and why my past marriage failed. And I realized I was sure, there's a part of me is like, no, it was all him, and sure, there are narcissists out there, there are abusers out there, those are the real toxic abusive relationships. We're not talking about that right now. That's another subject. But for this one, it was a marriage that just fell apart because both people had a part in making it crumble. And I was one of those persons. And with this self-improvement and self-love, smiling, I was very insecure in the relationships, and in a lot of my relationships, including my past marriage. I was very jealous. That led to a lot of jealousy. I was overly jealous. So, why are you looking? I mean, there's a pretty girl on TV and I'd be like, oh my God, you love her more than me. You're probably thinking about her when we're having sex, and fuck you, I hate you. And he's like, what did I do wrong? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was so angry. And that was from a lack of self-love, self-respect, self-confidence, self-assurance, and it destroyed a lot of my relationships. With this one, because I did so many, I've been divorced for 16 years, 16 years of going in and out of different long-term relationships, 16 years of deciding I'm going to be in a relationship with myself. How can I be better in each relationship? And each one that fell apart, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, where did I go wrong? Of course, there's a where did they go wrong? But when I turned it back to me, I realized, okay, I did hold on to things longer, like we were talking about in the number one. So with self-love, I realized how imperative it is when you are constantly wanting the attention of the other person, constantly want them to make you feel good about yourself. You're lacking a lot of self-love and self-respect and self-assurance and self-confidence within yourself. And you really got to learn to turn inside the relationship, turn inwards, and start giving love back to yourself from yourself, and fill your cup so you're not so reliant on the other person, because that's a big weight to put on somebody else, to make it their responsibility for you to be happy and for you to love yourself.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Because when we rely on others for happiness, we will be disappointed. You'll be disappointed. Helen, just like you, I was the same way, in terms of if Sam he had a crush on Ashanti, okay. He had a crush on Ashanti, and I was like, what are you talking about? No. Oh my gosh, I was jealous. Okay, so I was jealous, and I was insecure, because then I was like, what does she have that I don't have? And okay, maybe I need to do this more because that person is doing that. Oh my gosh. So the wheels in our mind can really they can either help us or hurt us. And I know in the beginning stages of our relationship, and by the way, I love that you took ownership too with your marriage, because that's a lot. That takes a lot, Helen, to actually take ownership, because I know for me it's like I'm right and you're wrong. I'm the one who got hurt, not you. But in the grand scheme of things, we all have a part in the demise of a relationship. There is always something that we did or didn't do, that could have improved the relationship. And so anyway, I love that you said that, Helen.
Yeah, I just want to mention, a lot of people have asked me in the past when I've shared this openly, are you still jealous? Like, how did you get over the jealousy? I am still jealous. That person, that she girl back in the day, she still lives inside of me. It's not somebody I can just completely cancel out, because that's years of trauma and insecurity that has built over time. It's embedded and it's encoded in me. What it is going back to number 6. It's the self-improvement tools. It's using the tools to sidetrack those thoughts, because they're just thoughts in your head that are manifesting into something. And you got to say to yourself, not today, not today, Satan, not today, demons. You got to really battle that within yourself and not let it escape into your mouth and become words that dagger somebody else, because it's not fair to them when it's when it's your battle inside. So I wanted to mention that. And before we go on to number 8, I do want to mention why I put smiling in there. Again, I asked Rob, what is something other than forgiveness that you think is holding us together? And he said, smiling. He goes, you smile all the time. He said, I was with somebody who was always scouring, who was always frowning, who was so unhappy, who was always complaining. And I smile a lot because, again, self-love. I love me. I love what I do. I like getting up and making the bed. I like doing the dishes. I like the life that I have. I like the goals that I'm pursuing. And I like the person I'm with. I'm happy, and I'm always showing appreciation and kindness and giving is what makes me smile, because it's an even exchange between two parties.
I love that you said smiling, because that is important. I mean, can you imagine? I can't imagine Rob being with somebody that's always scouring. That just does not make any sense, because he's always smiling.
Oh, I could see that, because again, when you're jealous and insecure and not confident, you are the person who's not smiling. And I remember people in my past telling me, you're always like scouring, like you always look mad. And I was like, no, I don't. But I was. But I didn't see it, because you're not self-aware. So of course, become self-aware, which goes back to number 6. That's what I gotta say about that.
Yes, I do want to say a little something too about how like our old self is still there, right? My old self is still there, obviously. It hasn't gone away, but I'd like to say that I'm an upgraded version. So I'm an upgraded, like, January 5.0. All right. So January 5.0, both Helen and I have put in a lot of work in ourselves, and have really dug deep into who it is that we are, what it is that we want, and I think making that decision to be a better you, to be a better me, that's like first and foremost, be a better version of you first, and I know for me, it's helped me a lot, because all right, I'm going to get a little vulnerable right now. Last week was really bad. So last week was bad. I was actually in a really deep hole. So I was in a deep hole last week because of issues that are going on with my husband. It is extremely challenging to be with somebody with PTSD. Okay, so that's a disclaimer. Extremely challenging. So I was in this deep hole last week, and Helen, I understand why some people want to commit suicide. Like, I was in that space, because things can feel like everything is like going wrong. It can feel like, oh gosh, I cannot live another life, because of this. But I thought about my children, and I thought about like how this would affect them. Nina, can you turn that down? And so, sorry about that. And so what took me out of that hole was my children, and feeling like I don't want to put this on them. I don't want to allow them to live their rest of their life with my decision of, like outing myself. I did not want that for them. But so I feel like there's some of us that can get in that hole and not come out of it. And when we're in that hole of, oh my gosh, I cannot take this anymore, it's just too much to handle, and you have all these different feelings of hopelessness. It's a moment, it's just a moment. If you can, and we can, see that there's actually blessings around us. There are blessings, and it's so challenging when you're like in that moment of, I can't take this anymore, but once you start thinking about those blessings, and you focus on those blessings, and focus on the things that you do have, then you can slowly emerge from that hole. So that's the whole self-love and smiling. And then of course, like, I looked at, when we talked about this last week, about how, you draw a stick figure, or the other week, and then you just like write all your different, like, who are you, who is Helen, who is January, and you write all these different things, and then you see it, firsthand, like who you are. Then it's like, okay, so you just slowly get yourself out of that hole. That's the whole self-love and smiling. Then I realized, oh, I do want to say something. My husband, so for Valentine's Day, he gave each of us like a gift. Hold on, Nina, go to your room. Okay. I'm so sorry, honey, I'm on the phone. Sorry. For Valentine's Day, my husband gave each of us gifts. and a card. And in the card for my son, he told my son, "You're going to make an amazing husband and an amazing father, because I can already see it in you. You would make a much better husband and father than I am right now." And that meant a lot to me, because he can see that our son is growing into this mature being, and he has different resources than Sam did when he was younger. To our daughter, he said, "I made a lot of mistakes. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I caused a lot of hurt and pain. But I want you to know that, there are good men out there." And he said, I want you to not be afraid of being in a relationship. It's a long thing, but he said that to her. He also said, 2023 has been really challenging for us. And he's like, I made a lot of mistakes, and it hasn't been where we want it to be. So we're going to change things. And I told him that I had lost myself. I said, "I lost myself. I don't know who I am right now." And it's because of everything that's been going on. So, one of the things that he gave me was this ring. Okay. So this ring is actually from Candlestick Park in San Francisco. So it's a seat from Candlestick Park that he created. Well, he had somebody create into a ring. The reason why it's Candlestick Park is because I've had a lot of memories in San Francisco. I used to live in San Francisco. And so this is a symbol of who I was in the past, right? And this is actually where my dad taught me how to drive. So it was, I had really great memories. I don't know where I was going with this, but that, he's definitely trying, to the whole self-love and smiling that helped me remind me who I am.
Sure. And I just want to acknowledge you, January. Thank you for sharing that very vulnerable short story with us. I know that there's a lot of women out there who feel like you feel, especially like we were talking about before, somebody doesn't make you feel a certain way, but being in a really difficult relationship at times can trigger us as women or men to feel like we're nothing, like feel like we have no purpose, feel like what's the point of going on, because you feel like everything's falling apart. And suicide is a big subject for me. I'm not going to go into full detail here, but just to give you guys a background, it does touch my heart when I hear people say that they feel that way. I've felt that way too much than I want to admit to it. But my brother, who also felt that way, actually did commit the act, and he did it in front of a girl when their relationship was falling apart. He waited till she arrived because he wanted to hurt her as much as he was hurting. And when I think about that to me is, it's not okay. It's okay to feel not okay, but that to hurt yourself because of thinking somebody else made you feel that way is not okay. And I just want to acknowledge you, January, that you recognized that it was just a moment, and you were going to push through, and you've started searching for blessings in your life. And I believe a lot of that comes because you've trained your mind how to search for meaningful things in your life in your time of need, which we're all going to have times where we are in a time of need. And it's great that you relied on, or you had those resources to pull out your blessings out of your tool belt. So thank you for sharing that story. It kind of brings us into number 8, actually, supporting, not fixing.
So I know in the beginning of the relationship, I was like, oh, okay, I can change him, right? You can't change anybody. Okay, so let's just put it out there. You cannot change anybody. That person's going to be who they are. And you either love them and accept them, or you let them go. Okay, so that is it. So supporting, not fixing. There's no way we can't do it. The only person that can fix themselves is themselves. And that is something that I've learned, as the years have progressed. Sam is learning as the years have progressed. And that is that's something that I just told him the other day. I said, I'm here for you. There's actually a PTSD like letter from a wife to a husband. And it's basically just saying, I'm here. I'm here for you, and just supporting them. So
yeah, I actually just had to practice this same thing earlier this week, a few days ago, actually. I don't have any family drama, but my partner has a slight bit of family drama. And for me, somebody who has worked, like I said, 16 years of self-improvement, getting rid of toxicity in my life, getting rid of all the family drama in my life, I won't stand for it. I won't have it. Like, if you're trying to come after me, bye, there's the wall. With him, it's a little bit different. And we've been together for 2.5 years, and a little bit of his family drama rose up, and there was a part of me that instantly wanted to put my 2 cents in and fix. I wanted to fix. I knew all the answers. I knew how to help. I knew what super Helen to the rescue. And I just thought to myself, okay, I really want you to think this through, because I don't want to fix anybody anymore. I'm so done with that. I've done that in my past. I've done it. I help my clients with that. Like, I don't want to fix my partner. Like, I want to love him right where he's at. And I've got to have the confidence in him that he is going to know what to do for himself. So I simply said, I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to give you my advice, because I believe you are a very smart, intelligent human being. You've gone through a lot in your life. You're not who you are. You said you want to become a better man every day. So I believe in what you say. Therefore, I'm just going to say, how can I support you? Or when you're ready to talk to me, I'm here to support you. That's all I said. And that was a turning point for me, because in the past, I would have completely did the opposite. And for me to do that, it felt so freeing. Like, his problems, a lot of people say, when in the marriage, their problems become your problems. I don't necessarily believe that, because I believe when a time comes, you become a team to stand up against something that could be hurtful to your marriage or to your family. But as individuals within the team, I think that for me was a good thing to say. I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to be your backup if you call me, but I'm not going to get involved, because that would make 2 people angry rather than just one person who was already angry. Like, you deal with that. I got your back over here. So that's something I did. And it was really powerful, actually, because when he did go and take care of the situation, he surprisingly handled it very well. Even to himself, he was like, this is what I did. I had a lot of time to think about it. And I just like to say, I might have helped a little bit in that, just by encouraging him and what is it called? Validating him with words of affirmation on how much he was a smart, intelligent human being to take care of this in a smart, intelligent way. Boom. You're welcome.
Helen, you just showered him with so much love and support. That's what you did. You were like uplifting him, which is what you do well, by the way. But I know that you had to do several things in order to get to where you are right now. So thank you and kudos. I'm so proud of you.
It is hard. It's hard, especially as women, not to be the fixer. So that was a growing moment, not just for, really just for myself. It was a growing moment for myself to say, release and let go of that control. Because when you try to fix somebody, there's a controlling aspect of it. And I'm tired. I watched my mom die last year. I lost my brother. I lost my father. I'm tired of controlling people. I'm tired of fixing people. Like, I want to know that I surround myself with smart, intelligent human beings, and sure, everybody's going to make a mistake, but I try to assure myself that that's who I have in my circle. And I try to assure them, the people in my circle, of what I believe they are. So it's very empowering.
Yes. I mean, I feel empowered just by you saying that. And I'm not raw, but I feel like, how she's letting me handle my shit. Okay. Wow. So yay, Helen. Thank you for teaching us that today. So many lovely lessons that we're learning today. I love it. Number 9, understanding your partner's love language, which kind of coincides with what we were just talking about, because I feel like like he felt heard, or he felt like, sorry, Rob, I know I'm probably talking about you, but like you felt validated, you know? So understanding your partner's love language. Helen.
Yes. I wanted to share the 5 love languages for anybody who doesn't know. The 5 love languages, it's a book, and it's by, oh gosh, I'm going to have to get the author name. Let's see. I got it here. Ooh. Okay. It doesn't say that. Oh, Gary Chapman. The 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. It's very good. You can actually, there's different books for dating, for friendships, for family members, for children. So I definitely encourage for you to check it out. Check out the book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. So here are the 5 love languages. 1, words of affirmation. 2, quality time. 3, gift giving, so you're a giver. 4, acts of service. And 5, physical touch. And if you've never heard of the 5 love languages, basically you do this quiz, and everybody has their one or two top love languages, which makes them feel loved, makes them feel heard and supported in the relationship. And when you do this love language test, you find out that you and your partner might be either the same or very different. So this whole time you could be giving your partner tons of gifts, and although they're like, oh, that's so sweet, thank you, but they still feel like, they don't even know me, like they're losing their grasp on me. That's because their number one love language may not be giving or receiving gifts. So it could be your partner's love language because they're giving so much. You know, they say usually what people do for you is usually their love language. So it's very interesting because my partner, one of his love languages is words of affirmation and physical touch. And I realized that at the beginning because, whoa, somebody's touching me more than I ever had in the past. So these must be his love languages. Sure enough, when we did the test, they were. So I realized, give a lot of appreciation, words of affirmation, show them that you appreciate them, give them touch back because that's their love language. Give them touch, lots of touch, So yeah, definitely take this test.
So we took that test, actually. We took that test at a marriage retreat. And I have to retake that because I want to see if like we've evolved. I know back then it was for him, it was physical touch and quality time. So those were his 2. And my 2 were physical touch and words of affirmation. So it's interesting to know if we've actually evolved from that. But I have to say, I actually, I am not following that particular, tip. I feel like I need to actually work more on that because, especially like with kids, and I know it's probably an excuse, but really it's not, because I get tired at the end of the day, so, and he works at 4 a.m, so we like really don't have like that block of time, right? But I do want to give it to him more because I feel like if I give him his love language, what he kind of draws near to, which is physical touch and quality time, then he'd be a little bit more receptive, and we would like strengthen our relationship more, by really practicing my partner's love language, which is physical touch and quality time. And I think the quality time is like, just one-on-one, right, with him, not like with the family. I think it's a little bit harder to have like one-on-one if you have like the kids around. But what is Rob's love language?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned his love languages, words of affirmation and physical touch. I believe those are the top 2. And I think we're very similar with the physical touch. And I think my top 1 was acts of service, which is crazy. No wonder I'm like so in love. I'm still in love 2.5 years because he's so just, when I say acts of service, I mean, he does all the cooking in the house. He's always cooking. Like, and when I say I always say he should have been a chef. Everything's top notch. I mean, restaurants don't even come close to some of his steaks and seafood that he makes. And he's a 3-course meal type person. We're always taking pictures. It's so funny. so him and I don't like to cook. So it worked out perfectly. Goes hand in hand. but that's an act of service. And he's feeding my love language every single day because I eat when he cooks, and then I'm always like, let me rub your feet. Let me rub your feet. And I'm feeding his love language, so it's really important to know these love languages and see where you can accommodate one another.
Yes, I do love that. So thank you for the reminder, Helen. I appreciate that. I'm going to work on that actually. So ask me again next week. All right, number 10. Choosing your person every day. I love that, Helen, because yes, we have to choose them every day. Especially when it gets hard, right? Love. So my idea of love is that love is, you can't just love them when they're at their best, right? Love is encompassing of who that person really is. And that may mean when they're at their worst, and you got to choose them even when they're not as lovable. That's like the hardest thing. So like when I think about love, it's easy to love a person that's like happy and joyful and everything is great, but it's so much more challenging when, like, I mean, for my husband, it's really challenging. He's got like I said, he has PTSD. So he's got his moments of whatever things that are going on, in his mind. And I have to choose him every day, despite the fact that there are things that he may say, there are things that he may do. And so it is very challenging. So for those of us women out there who do have a husband that is suffering from some type of mental, illness or depression or whatever that's going on with that person, and we gotta love them through it all. And that's easier said than done, but that is definitely a choice. We have to make those choices, daily.
Yes, you make the choice to be with your person every day. I like I said, I was with somebody for 7 years before this, and then before that, almost 11 years before that, and then before that, 8 years. So I have a history of long-term relationships, and I used to make the choice every day to be with them. But the one thing I wasn't making the choice to be in with 2 feet instead of one. I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like I mentioned before. With my person now, my fiance, I chose him. I'm the one who asked him to marry me. I chose him every day. And like one of my friends says, everybody's got their shit. Some people got shit they don't even talk about with their person. And you make the choice to be with that person. If you don't like what's going on in the relationship, make the choice to get out of it. If you like to be with that person, you genuinely feel that they're a good person, they're making you a better person, and you feel like there's more love, like I said, than toxicity, make the choice to be with that person. Then that's your choice. And I know with Rob, I'm choosing to be with him every day. And in my past relationships, I made the choice every day until I made the choice to leave. So it is like an everyday choice. And don't feel guilty if your choice is to leave. Don't feel guilty if your choice is to stay. Be strong in your choice. And when, like Jenny was saying, when things aren't going right, she's reaching out for those, she's grasping on for those blessings. I've been there, and where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated. Like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden, again, my tools, I've trained my brain also to look for tools to help me stay in it. And I'll say to myself, okay, nobody is chaining me up to be in this relationship. I am making the choice to be here. And that's so powerful. And it's so beautiful, because that's empowering to yourself that you have made the choice to be there. And it is very freeing once you realize how powerful that choice is, because then you could say, if I choose to be here, then I choose to change the direction of how this day is going with this person, instead of getting, completely allowing anger and jealousy and frustration and annoyance to explode. You can say, I think I'm going to just be quiet and step back, or I'm going to choose to look at you. And when you say, what are you looking at? Or when your partner says, what are you looking at? Because they're upset, you guys are upset in an ordeal. You could say, I'm looking at your beautiful eyes. because I remember when I first met them. And those are some of the things that me and Rob do all the time. And he even said, I really like that when we're like in a dispute, you start laughing because I'll make a joke in the middle of it. And I'm like, yeah, like sometimes just need to just knock the fire out with a little bit of splash of a water, just like, let's just stop. What are we doing? We're making the choice to be here.
I love that. I love that he like stops everything and just like tries to make you laugh. And even in the midst of an argument, that's awesome.
Not the very heated ones, but like our little small arguments, he'll every now and then he'll say a joke and then it just makes me forget what we're arguing about. And I'm like, okay, this is my person for sure, because I never met anybody who will do this in the middle of a little spat.
Oh my gosh, choosing our choices, right, is really where it's at, and one of the things that I'm learning right now in Atomic Habits is that you gotta decide who it is that you want to be. Just like for a relationship, we can decide where we want our relationship to go. You can make that choice as a couple, as partners. Where is it that we want to go? What kind of relationship do we want to be? And the other thing I liked about Atomic Habits was that it was talking about like a 1% change, and that 1% change is vital. So as long as you're constantly like thinking, if you and your partner are talking to each other and you're wanting to be a better partner for each other, then every day that make that 1% change, and it's gonna grow. Like it's like compound interest, it's gonna grow into something more amazing, even with that 1% change. And I love that we talked about the tips today, Helen. These are amazing tips that even I need to do.
Actually, there's 2 more tips I want to throw in there. I'll do it quick because I want to give a shout out to these ladies who answered the question in our Facebook group, Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed. You can join if you're a woman and you want some empowering, inspirational tribe of women around you. Join our group. So I'm just going to pick a few here from the questionnaire we put in there this morning about this subject. So shout out to Pamela Topjan. Her answer to what is some tips that you can put down for a lasting, strengthful relationship was definitely honesty, she says, and communication and mutual respect, equality within the relationship, being a team, partners in life. So love that, Pamela. Thank you for dropping that down. And the other one I'm going to choose to mention here is one from Sherette Miller. She says she's been married 20 years now, almost 16 years married, same as you, January, and 20 years together. She says the 3 things that she says are the most equally important are trust, communication, and compromise. So shout out, Shreddy. Thank you for mentioning those things. And we love if any of our listeners, if you have anything to add to our list today, please email us at SexyFreedomNow@gmail.com or tag us in a story and we'll reshare it.
Ooh, those were really good tips. Thank you, Pamela and Shreddy, right? Is it Shred? I hope I didn't butcher your name, but thank you. Those were great. I love them. So much to talk about, tips of making a strong relationship. I think the more that we put it out there and we voice it out, then, our relationship will get stronger, and we'll learn to practice these 12 tips, actually, these 12 tips that we've shared today. So thank you so much, Helen. This is amazing. Always a pleasure when we get to podcast and we get to conversate with each other. Looking forward to hearing like our audience and what their tips are, because I'm sure there's so much more than what we had shared. So if you do have those tips, please send them our way. If you're on the Sexy, Soul Fed, and Successful, did I say that right? Oh my gosh.
Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed Facebook group. There's so many S's in this.
Yeah, triple S.
Triple
So
S.
post it on there so we can see it. But thank you so much, Helen. And you can find me at VIP Finance Builders I am a financial strategist. So what I do is I create tax-free retirement accounts. I basically help protect your money. So that is where you can find me, VIP Finance Builders on Facebook, Instagram, Liddell on LinkedIn. Helen, where can we find you?
Yes, you can get my copy of Nothing Sexier Than Freedom on Amazon or Audible. You can find me on Hell of a Journey. There it is over there. You can find me on Hell of a Journey. You can find more about us on Sexy Freedom Media on our Facebook page and Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for listening. Again, subscribe, share, buy us a coffee if you want to support our show. And thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Aloha.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at SexyFreedomMedia.com.